I'm Beck and welcome to a video about my book series that are ongoing. I thought it would be a good time to check in on a video I made almost half a year ago now and see how my series are tracking. I think I know where my shame lies, so it'd actually be nice to see if I've had any wins so far this year. I just kind of made this video, put it out into the world, and I haven't gone back to recheck it. I just kind of had my goals loosely in my head, so it would be nice to actually see where I get to. And also I have done my twice a year tag, which is an original tag that's a goals check-in tag that I do in April and August. And I thought after talking about my series goals in that video, I was like, maybe I should actually look at the video I made and physically see what I've got left on my TBR versus what I actually set as a reading goal in that video. So anyway, I've rambled enough, let's get into it. Hi, I'm Beck and welcome to my ongoing series video. I started 13 new series in 2022, and while I do feel a little bit guilty about it, for the most part I think I'm up to date on some of these, so it could be worse, I guess. But without further ado, let's get into the series that I started in 2022, and ideally I will hope to continue in 2023. The first books are Magic Bites and Magic Burns by Alona Andrews, and these are the first and second books in the Kate Daniels series, and I did continue that, to be fair, and then I decided during book 3 that I wasn't feeling it. I didn't like the tone and the characters. It felt a little bit old school urban fantasy to me. I get that it's a female character and she's very strong, but she also dismisses being girly, and I'm like, that's such a early urban fantasy thing to do. Like, you can like girly stuff and wearing dresses, but also you can stab demons. Like, why choose? So anyway, it was just frustrating me on a very low-key level, and I thought if I'm only going to give these 3 stars, then it's not really worth continuing, especially because it's such a long series. Then we have yet another urban fantasy, and these are very new books, and I am proud to say that I'm up to date on these. So we've got the Atlas 6 and the Atlas Paradox. I read both of them last year, and I think there's a third one coming this year. The third one is actually coming in January 2024. According to Goodreads, the goals have shifted a little bit, so I feel like I'm off the hook with that one and continuing it because the book is literally not published yet. Then we've got a comic book that absolutely captured my heart among many others. It was a very popular one last year, and that is Lore Olympus. I've read volumes 1, 2, and 3, and I believe volume 4, maybe volume 5, is coming out this year. I actually don't know much about volume 5. I should probably look into that, but I did pick up volume 4 and I continued it this year, so that's a definite tick. I didn't love this as much as the others. I gave it a 4 stars compared to the others so far, which I've given 5 stars each. So I'm hoping that the next one, if it comes out this year, I give a 5 stars. But I still love this art style and the fact that it's based on the Olympian gods and Hades and Persephone's romance. It's such a slow burn and I love their relationship, so I'm looking forward to continuing as soon as I can. Then we've got more comic books, and that is The Search and the Promise, which are from the Avatar: The Last Airbender universe. I haven't continued those only because I kind of chose to forget about them. I wrote them off on a personal note to myself because I was like, we've just bought a house, we want to do a whole bunch of renovations, I'm spending a lot of money on groceries, like the cost of living is going up, and so I couldn't really afford to get the rest of these series, at least not yet. I can probably afford them soon, so that's the reason that I kind of put them off, because I want to own them. I could go to my library and read them as ebooks, but because they're a graphic novel, I want to have that experience of owning it, especially because I own the others, so it wouldn't make sense to me to own the first few and then not get the rest. At some point I'll continue them, but I don't think it would necessarily be this year. I don't know, it depends on what mood strikes me. Maybe one day I'll be like, I really want to read graphic novels, and I'll go out and buy them. So we'll see what happens with that one, but I wouldn't put that as a priority necessarily. And then I dived headfirst into Discworld with The Color of Magic, and I didn't love this. I thought I would because of all of the hype around Terry Pratchett, but this was just okay for me. But then I'm proud to say that the first book that I read this year in January was Guards, which I quite enjoyed. I can confirm that yes, I read this in January and it is now August and I have not continued with Men at Arms. However, I'm counting this as progress. I do have this on reserve at my library because I find it hard to sit down and physically read books because of my commute to and from work. So I am very tired when I get home in the evenings. So I got this audiobook at my library on reserve, and it's come available a few different times, but I've had other things on the go when it's become available, so it's not quite been the right time. But I think Terry Pratchett told an audiobook would be quite jovial and uplifting, and I think it will be really easy to enjoy as an audiobook format. So I'm really looking forward to reading this as an audiobook, and I hope it comes available very soon, potentially in August, we'll see. I guess that's my continuation. I do have 4 more, or this plus 3 others, of Terry Pratchett to read this year, and I've just not made time for it. I think I'm going to just set my goal at finishing this because I don't know if my library has the rest of the audiobook. I would be disappointed in myself if I didn't at least finish this one in the Discord series this year. That's just kind of letting it hang, and I did say to myself that I would continue. So I continued right off the bat with Guards. And now, like 7 months later, I need to continue with this one. Now, I'm not sure if this technically counts as a series, but I'm loosely counting it as a series to motivate myself to continue and finish them. And that is the Alice Oseman collection, starting with, I think, Solitaire. I would like to report that, technically they're not a series, so it kind of half counts and half doesn't count for this video, but I'm kind of counting it as a collection. So I guess by my own rules, I am failing this goal. I've read Solitaire and I've read Radio Silence. I don't know if you can see behind me, but I do have Loveless and I Was Born for This on my TBR, and they've made it onto a few different TBR videos throughout this year, but I just haven't felt right picking them up because I'm really focusing on my mood this year, and if it doesn't fit my mood, then I don't read it. And I've been fighting off that mid-year winter reading slump, so I haven't continued reading the YA on my shelf, and I really should. Maybe this one can be done on audiobook as well. I'll have to check my library. I think I have, and it's only ebook, and I really struggle to read ebook when I'm sitting on a train because it makes me motion sick, so I don't think I'm going to be able to find them easily to read them as an audiobook while I commute, so I'm gonna have to just bite the bullet and finish them. Not an impossible goal, and at some point I feel like I'm going to reread Heartstopper, so I'm gonna be in an Alice Oseman mood. Maybe that is the right time. And then we have a book that I'm a little bit ashamed to say that I haven't continued yet because I really love this and it made my honorable mentions in my best books of 2022, but I haven't continued it as a series, so ultimate shame, and that is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I'm actually proud to say with this one and Fevered Star, which is the sequel, I finished it and it wasn't as good to me as Black Sun. Black Sun is like the pinnacle. This one undercut Black Sun a little bit, and then the third book actually comes out in August, so I'm hoping to potentially snap up the audiobook for that one. Go figure, clearly audiobooks are a success for me lately, so audiobooks are my way to go with continuing this series because this one was a little bit of a letdown compared to how much I loved book 1. So I'm like, do I really want to own the third book? I hope I end up liking it and that it doesn't take my whole understanding of the series down a peg in terms of my enjoyment. I'm just hoping that it delivers. Then we've got another graphic novel, and this one made my favorite books of 2022, my best books last year. So this is going to be also a really easy one to continue the series for because it is a very slim graphic novel, and that is The Tea Dragon Society, which is a very cute, cozy fantasy. I think the sequel to The Tea Dragon Society is The Tea Dragon Tapestry, and I continued the series. I actually can't remember if I continued it in 2023 or at the end of 2022. Either way, I finished reading it, and the third book in that companion series isn't out in paperback yet. So this is another one like the Atlas 6 that is literally not published yet. So I feel like I'm off the hook for that one. And then we have a series that I have a lot of shame for because Dave and I are kind of trying to buddy read it and we haven't really made time to do that. So we only got through 1 book last year and we still have 2 left. So reading 2 books over the course of an entire year should not be that difficult. And the series I'm talking about is Dresden. You'd think that reading that much over the course of an entire year wouldn't be too difficult, and yet here I am in August and I haven't read any Dresden so far. And the reason that I think I have stalled on this series is because I've waited so long. So I'm thinking that maybe I should just start again from the beginning and read all the audiobooks and get back up to date to rejuvenate my passion for the series, because I know that it's kind of controversial and that some people just don't like Dresden. They can't stand the male gaze in the series. They think that the author Jim Butcher is kind of putting himself into the main character and the way he sees women. And honestly, yes, I can see exactly what everyone is talking about, but to me personally, I don't know what it is. I can somehow set most of that aside and still enjoy the story that's being told. And I think that really lends to how well James Masters can do the audiobooks of Dresden. Like, it is an incredible performance. It always has me on the edge of my seat. These urban fantasy books just grab you and suck you in. And I think that's why I really am looking forward to continuing, because the stakes are just going up and up in every book and I'm loving the series. But I haven't continued because Dave goes in and out of reading and he's not really got these on the forefront of his mind. So maybe if I start reading them again, it will also pique his interest all over again. And that means that we'll actually finish what is out of the series. Then I started a new series that is an epic queer fantasy series with a lot of mental gymnastics involved in terms of all of the naming, the bloodlines and the body swapping and the demons, but it is worth your time because this is one of my honorable mentions, kind of like Black Sun from 2022 that I adored, and so I would like to continue it, but they're just very long books. So we've got Ruin of Kings and The Name of All Things, and I would like to say that I actually surprised myself completely and I have finished this series. This is a 5-book series. All of them are 700 plus pages. This is one of my new favorite fantasy series too, by the way. And I reread the first 2 books before reading the rest. So that is an extra 2 books that I didn't necessarily have to read. And I'm glad that when I reread the first 2 books, I didn't leave much of a gap and I continued reading the series because everything was fresh in my head. Nailed it with that series. Very, very happy with myself. Then I started The Sunbearer Trials by Aidan Thomas, and I think this is a duology, so the sequel is coming out probably late this year. I think September, October is like that key time. I actually don't know what the sequel to this one is called, and it's really just fallen off my radar, so it's probably another audiobook that I need to actually go and Google and look up the release date for. It might fall into that category of me trying to preempt what I'm going to read and not realizing that it's literally not published yet, so it doesn't need me to be worrying about it yet. Now I've only got 2 books left, so the next one is a book that I started and then DNF'd or did not finish. And then I was like, no, I think the problem was me. Like the problem wasn't the book. So I picked it up again and I finished it in a couple of days. So that goes to show that I did have the right instinct about this book and I knew I was going to enjoy it because I do like Juno Dawson. And that book is Her Majesty's Royal Coven. I've actually got the sequel back here, The Shadow Cabinet, on my TBR. And interestingly, after DNFing the first book and then picking it up later and enjoying it, I feel like I've got a similar pattern with the sequel because I read 80 pages and I'm not feeling it. So I put it down. And I'm like, does that mean I'm going to dislike this book or should I wait until I'm in a different mood and continue reading it? I bought it and started reading it in the month that it was published. So it's not like I have just ignored it and forgotten about it completely. I was an active participant in knowing when it was published, which is more than I can say for some of the other books on this list that I've put together. But I digress. I tried it. I'm going to pick it up again in the future. And I haven't finished it. So I guess it's still a little bit of shame. I think I lied at the start because I said I had 13 series that I wanted to continue. And I think this makes it 14. And so the next one, I guess I didn't really read this in 2022, but I wanted to. And that is Legendborn. Well, it's the sequel, which is Bloodmarked. I'm proud to say that I've read Bloodmarked. So what a strong way to end this video. I read this a few months ago and I didn't love it as much as the first book, which is unfortunately seeming like a theme of my 2023 reading. Let's hope that the last book in the series, whenever it comes out, I don't think it's publishing this year, maybe next year. Let's hope that the third book redeems some of what was set up in this book because I don't know, maybe it had like that second book syndrome, I suppose, where you're setting everything up, but also bringing your characters to a point where they've shifted enough from book 1 that they're in place for book 3. I just wanted a little bit more from it. And therein ends the video. I still have a bit of work to do in terms of reading series and checking publication dates. If that's a lesson that I have learned, it is to look up a publication date before I start filming a goals video. Who'd have thought? But anyway, let me know if you have series currently on the go. I definitely have new series on the go. I don't know if it's as many as 13 or 14, but I will have to check in with you again at some point in the future and let you know of everything that I'm kind of trying to keep on top of. But thank you again so much for watching this video. I'll come chat to you down below in the comments and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.